I could not see what I learned to see from you. And we had these great moments where I just complained. I said, what's this all about? And you just point to a part of the text and did you read that? And I would read it and it would be brilliant. A brilliant moment of clear thinking in that paragraph. How did I miss it? I had read the chapter. I had glossed over it. How? And then the second time I was like, what? It's like it was not even there. It's like you did a sleight of hand, and you pushed an extra page on that book.
What sort of questions were on your mind? Where were you at? What were you thinking about? How did you find me in the sense? And was I helpful?
Well, I was in a very interesting situation because I had begun to write my show, Ancient Greece Revisited. And it just started on a hunch, which shows how difficult it is to encounter the material that you're teaching. Because I've been reading throughout my life. I'm not the best reader, slightly dyslexic. It takes me a long time to read a book, but I've been slowly cracking through books, and I just had this feeling that the way we see ancient Greece is either wrong or there's big gaps to that. There's something about this narrative that's too, I didn't even have the words to express, too modern, too contemporary, too benign, too soft would be the words. And it was just that I had not read a single word that would show me that I'm right and that there's a different way, And then I bumped into one of your interviews. Should have pulled it up. I don't remember. It was with a guy from Students for Western Civilization. I think was his group, and he interviewed you as a university teacher who got into trouble for teaching Dugin, etc., etc. So already the story was very interesting. But you said one thing, and I just remember it frequently, where you said, what is very strange is that student goes to school to study philosophy, politics, or general, to just goes to university, and they're taught left-wing anti-liberalism. Already it was a bit of a mouthful for me, like what is left? I knew left-wing anti-liberal, and then you said, like Marx. I said, right, yeah, like Marx. Marx was not a liberal in our sense. And we are taught of Marx as a great thinker, great philosopher. Made his mistakes. Perhaps his work was not properly implemented, but he's still very well presented in universities. And then you went, but you're never taught right-wing anti-liberal thinking. I'm like, oh, there's a right-wing now. It was enough just to understand the concept of left-wing anti-liberal. There's a right, and they just caught my imagination. Said right-wing anti-liberal, because you got me out of this duality that you either accept, which is very common throughout my generation. Actually, now that I think about it, it's the way we saw the world. Those of us who wanted to think a bit more about the world, that's why we saw. You either accept the given order, which we were taught was called capitalism. Okay, so you want to go out, study the most lucrative professions, trying to make as much money, buy a big sports car if you can, go to Mykonos in Greece, do these things, or try to combat that system with left-wing ideology. Criticize capitalism, but criticize it in the name of, I guess, communism. So we saw the world and we saw how it is. Some people liked it, they just went for it. Other people said, no, it could be different, it could be better, and I know the solution. And by I know, they meant Marx. Or people who were like, because most people had not actually read Marx, they had read second, third rate, Marxists, let's say. So already you got me out of this duality that no, there's a third way. And then you said, people who are kind of taught something about right-wing anti-liberal, they might know Nietzsche. And then I said, yes, I do know Nietzsche because I had read Nietzsche. And I did even back then perceive him as kind of right-wing anti-liberal. I could not articulate these phrases, but something in me had already placed him there. But Nietzsche is an interesting gateway drug because he can be very, very easily misunderstood. And it took me a long, long time to figure out, because he's one of these gifted writers. When you read him, you think he speaks to you. Okay? And there's a little cartoon that goes around the web, which shows kind of teenager, obese, greasy fingers. He's got like a sandwich half eaten next to him. He's in a little study room in his room, paper, books and things scattered, and he's holding a book. It says Nietzsche thus speaks Zarathustra, and there's a little bubble above his head. It says, "Oh man, he's just like me." And this is very, very common. I think I was, not as well, half messy, definitely not obese, still out there in the world. When I read Nietzsche, I was still, I was on my journey. I was living my life, but still, I did not ask the question that is the most Nietzschean question now you can ask, which is, what do you find in yourself that is so deplorable and so decadent? If you're a Nietzschean, if someone says you're a Nietzschean, you have to ask them, okay, so what did you discover in yourself that is so disgusting? And that kid with the greasy fingers obviously had no answer, or he would say nothing. It's all other people. But that's most Nietzsche readers are like this kid, So he's very easy to misunderstand. And if he's your only way to the dissident right, you're in a bit of a trouble, because you go there almost like a savage, beating your chest, and then I realized there's others on that side, more articulate, more thoughtful, more prudent. Okay, and you mentioned Leo Strauss, who I had read a tiny bit, did not understand him at all. Heidegger, obviously, you mentioned on that interview. These were the two names that I remember, and so I contacted you directly. I don't even remember where I found your email. I found it somewhere, contacted you, said, blah, blah, and you tutored me. We did one-to-one tutorials. We went through texts that I would not have cracked by myself, I believe. And it's not because I'm not persistent in cracking those texts. Before having only, like I said, the left to work my anti-liberal feelings, I would read some difficult texts like Cornelius Castoriadis, the Greek philosopher, and that took me a long time to read through his works. Read them again, and I got them, But they present themselves as difficult. When you read Leo Strauss, it does not present itself as difficult. It presents itself as like I had read Socrates and Aristophanes, and just to browse on the internet, I learned that it was a significant book by Leo Strauss. So I bought that. I liked the title. I was already thinking about ancient Greece, and I was like, let's read what this great scholar has to say about Socrates. And essentially, the book is 12 chapters. The first is an introduction, and the others are just summaries of Aristophanes' plays. Good summaries, by the way. Very good summaries. Not theatrical summaries. He does not try to recreate the narrative, but very good summaries, essays. And I was like, what's that? It's just a set of some. I could not penetrate. I could not see what I learned to see from you. And we had these great moments where I just complained. I said, what's this all about? And you just point to a part of the text and did you read that? And I would read it and it would be brilliant. A brilliant moment of clear thinking in that paragraph. How did I miss it? I had read the chapter. I had glossed over it. How? And then the second time I was like, what? It's like it was not even there. It's like you did a sleight of hand, and you pushed an extra page on that book. Though it was the digital book. So you hacked into my Kindle and you put an extra extra page, you know. But that's what Leo Strauss does. That's what Leo Strauss does. And once you learn to read it, you see it increasingly, and then you can be on your own. So we did Leo Strauss, and then of course we cracked the heavyweights. We read Heidegger. We read Heidegger Being in Time. Not a book that I don't know if I would have bothered. Perhaps at some point I would, but I would not have understood. I would not have understood. There's no point. I don't know at which point I would have given up. But I just would. And I believe that I got a lot out of it now. I believe I understand a lot of it, you know, thanks to you. So these are the things that make it worth, you know, the
Thank you.